Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sue DeCaro, here with my good friend and colleague, Aaron Taylor, and we're thrilled to be interviewing one of our good friends, Ken Chong, tonight. And to tell you a little bit about Ken, Ken is a technopreneur with experience in the government and private sector covering energy, water, food, healthcare, and waste management. And the value of businesses that Ken has built over a 25-year period exceeds US dollars of $7 billion, with revenues exceeding many times that value. Ken is a fabulous businessman. Global problems related to the environment as a result of high carbon emissions and population growth has created major water stress in many countries. And Ken seeks opportunities to build on strengths of partners to provide soft and hard engineering with social solutions wherever possible across the energy water nexus, followed by waste, health, and food. Ken's partners are individuals and businesses and political leaders, tech companies, universities, and research organizations, financial institutions, private equity, aid relief agencies, government and non-government organizations. He welcomes anyone with a deep, sincere passion to help others less fortunate through the U.S. Peace Prize Foundation. Two key platforms on education and health deliver significant opportunities for change around the world. So if you believe that you can play a part, we encourage you to please get in touch with Ken. So welcome, Ken. We're delighted that you're here with us. You're an incredible businessman with incredible global successes. Based on what we've just shared, everyone listening can understand why. Can you briefly tell us how you got your start?
Well, first of all, thanks very much, Sue and Erin, for having me on today. I started many years, into the business world from a professional, very much by accident, as with many discoveries in life. So I was, in college at that time, and was thinking of, wouldn't it be nice to have a platform to share medical knowledge, the science, the technology, very boring stuff. And to my surprise, a lot of people signed on and said, wow, isn't that fantastic? In fact, some of them in later life told me, doesn't that sound a bit like Facebook? I said, well, unfortunately, I didn't have a much further foresight. But nonetheless, it was an experience. I think it was the very first experience, not to make money, but I think in realizing that ideas can become reality. And I think there was one lesson that I took with me.
That's very interesting. And it's interesting to think about how, because we know you now and how many incredible things you've done. It's interesting to think of your origins and how you got started. And it reminds me that everybody has to start somewhere.
Absolutely. I guess, the first step is to dream, and dreaming big is so important. Even when I was young, I've been encouraged by my parents to really, go and be a dreamer. and I, in Asian society, it's a no-no. It's a prescribed life. There are instructions. You just do as you're told. So it's very authoritarian. You don't really have much breathing space, to think outside the box. But when I went to my first seminar when I was a student in the UK, I attended a class seminar. And that was really the first time when my tutor started asking me questions. What do you think? How do you think you can do this better? And to my horror, my mind was blank. I was really good in regurgitating what I've learned from the textbooks, and you will pass with flying colors. But it's a very different system in the UK. I think it's in the West where you are taught to really think.
Mm-hmm.
And that really set me back, way back to the beginning. And I have to relearn all these skills and reprogram my brain, to start thinking. And I'm glad it's worked out to some degree.
I think it's worked out beautifully, Ken.
Yeah.
All in your favor.
Yes. One of the things that I think is, I guess, one of your strongest qualities, I guess, or one of your biggest strengths is your power to connect with others. So I'm wondering how your ability to connect with people all over the world has contributed to you as a person and as a family man.
Well, I think I've often asked myself that question in the early days, that people, in conversations say, "Wow, that's a skill. Are you born with it? Are you nurtured?" I said, "I really don't know." This connection with people, I think, is absolutely critical. It's not just the PR or the amount of expensive meals that you buy for people, gifts, corporate gifts that really get deals done. I think having that empathy to deal with people and understanding one thing, that behind every smile that you see is a person who has a lot of problems, but they won't show it. They have their pain, their disappointments, their challenges in their private lives, in their businesses, but they will always smile.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being able to empathize is the basic connector.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding what is really causing them pain and what is really driving them for their success. And once you understand that, or at least have 60 or 70% understanding, then I think you can start to open doors where you can actually share more. And you can then start to think of solutions that is mutually beneficial to all concerned.
Wow. So Ken, with your power of connection and your ability to empathize with people and understand people and really connect with them in a deep way, how has that helped you in your business, in your professional life?
Oh, tremendously, Sue. I think the first thing that happens when you meet a perfect stranger in a meeting room. It could be a low-level meeting at Starbucks, or it could be at a huge corporate office somewhere in New York or San Francisco. You go there in your power dressing, your suit, everything, and that's all very well. That's just the basic 101 in the business world. But how do you really connect with people very, very quickly? It's not small talk. Just before, say, the meeting begins, you say you're a bit early, and your host or somebody in the office, before the chairman comes in, will say, can I get you a cup of coffee, a tea? And there's always this small talk. How do you actually break that ice very, very quickly? And I'd just like to share a very quick example. There was once I went to Japan to do a big deal with a company that manufactures very specialized lenses. Yeah, these are not spectacle lenses, but they are used for scientific lasers. Yeah. So I got an appointment, got to the factory where the HQ is located, and I was very surprised after the technical tour and all that. The sales manager said to me, "Oh, Chong-san, my president knows that you are in the plant today, and he wonders whether you would like to meet him." I said, "I'll be delighted." They say, oh, in that case, shall we set for 2 p.m.? So at 2 p.m., I went upstairs, and it's a beautiful office, very neat, very tidy. I sat down, and the secretary offered me a cup of green tea. But I could hear very loud noises in the room, where the president is seated, and there's an American voice and says, "Oh," it's a bit muffled, and I was saying, "What's that? What's this hula baloo? What's going on?" A few minutes later, a red-faced man comes out, sits opposite me, he flips his briefcase open, shoves all the paper in, and he looks at me from the corner of the eye and says, "Oh, howdy." And I said, "Oh, hi, good afternoon." So couldn't help hearing that there was a bit of a ruckus. No problems, I hope, He said, No, I come here every year, and he gives me a card. And it comes from a machine tool company in Minnesota, yeah. And he says he knows the president since the days when they went to Harvard, and old mates, and he's now the VP for sales, and he's trying to supply equipment to this Japanese company. So he says, I said, "Any luck, so far?" And he says, No. Every year they say no to me. So I said, "Well, good luck next year." And we shook hands, and he left. And soon enough, I was called into the office of the president. And my God, he has a big room. In Japan, space is very limited, as you know. It's a big room. And I was expecting to see, samples of lenses and whatnot. No, you know what I saw? Nothing but big game fish, marlin. All on the wall, and I clicked. I said, "This man is an avid sports fisherman."
Yes.
And I sat down, and we shook hands. He bowed to me, I bowed to him. We exchanged cards, as per the protocol. He ushered me to a nice sitting area, and he was, looking at my business card, and he was feeling it. You see, he was looking at it front and back, and looking at the embossed, logo, and then he put it down. And then he says, "Thank you for visiting our factory today, and it's a pleasure to meet you." So he started off quite formally, and I replied that formally, and I said, "Mr. Yamamoto, I'm very honored to come to your office, and thank you very much for taking the time to see me." And I thought, the 10 minutes would be just that. Hello, goodbye, thank you very much, got each other's card. And that conversation actually went on for an hour and a half. And we talked about nothing. We talked about not machine tools. We didn't talk about lenses. We didn't talk about technology. Oh, by the way, the name of this company is called Hoya, Hoya. And they are one of the biggest lens manufacturers in Japan. Yeah. Now, you know what we talk about? Big sea.
Fish, yeah. Marlin.
And he was so happy and excited to show me the different fishes, this blue marlin, and then this tuna he caught off in Hawaii, the swordfish somewhere in Guam, and they go, and I just listened. I just listened to him, and I didn't interrupt, and he was so happy that day. Yeah. So anyway, at the end of that conversation, I said goodbye to him because I had to catch a train back to Tokyo, and we shook hands. And on the way out, I said, "Oh, just know that American friend of yours is "Oh, Tom, I wouldn't. He spoke to me, in pretty good English. Yeah, he said, "Oh, Tom, we go back away." But the problem is he doesn't listen. So he's talking like my father. He said, he doesn't listen. Because every year he's trying to sell me big equipment, but our factory needs small ones, small CNC machines, because we don't have space, and we're not making big molds and tools. If we occasionally, once every 10 years, if we need to do a big, tool and die, we will farm it out to the States or India or China or whatever, and they can do all the precision machining, but we use the small machines, and he doesn't listen. I said, "Oh, okay, I understand." So I left that meeting with 2 lessons. One is never push your agenda, no matter how anxious we are. And number 2, be a good listener. And I think these are the 2 things I learned from that trip, and that has helped my business even up to today. I'm a listener, although I tend to talk quite a bit, but I tend to listen carefully first and understand, what is it that you really want. And if I don't get that, then I will ask questions, get clarity, and then start the conversation. And that is something that you can practice in your business. You will win, unlike Tom.
And it sounds like you simply developed a relationship with this gentleman by being interested in what he had to say and just letting him run the show, in a way that worked for him.
That's very true, Sue. I think we all have that skill, that gift. It is suppressing that inner urge to interrupt or jump straight into a conversation and say it's about me, because I flew all the way here or drove 150 miles. I want to sell you something, an idea or product or a service. I think we should refrain from that until we hear what is it that a prospective client is really looking for. It may not be the sort of product, goods or service that you're offering, or sometimes they still say no to you, despite the fact that it is what they want. Yeah, it could be a parenting coach that they're looking for, but perhaps at the meeting they are a bit distraught or distracted. You should really pull away and say, well, look, today might not be a good time, but you don't need to probe and find out why. They could have, say, their child may be sick at home, or they have a death in the family. Of course, they don't share it with a stranger. It's always good to pull out, make another 300-mile round trip if you have to. It's okay. I think in doing that, you're showing empathy, you're showing understanding, and that person will appreciate your gesture. Because that no matter how good your salesmanship, nothing will go into his or her ears that particular day. So it's better to come back another day.
Yeah.
That's a great point. A great point. I think it was Jay Abraham who said once that if you want to be kind of the most popular person in the room, then you should be interested instead of interesting. And I think that's all goes back to listening.
That brings me to a quick anecdote. I was told this one by a friend some time ago, and it's a story about this beautiful woman. She's all blonde, wears a red party dress, and beautifully made up. And she goes to this dinner party, a high society get together in Washington. And you can see, when she made her entrance, just like in the movies, Panavision wide, everybody was following her. Yeah, she looks femme fatale. and of course, she attracted a great deal of attention. And then after a while, as the evening wore on, there was this other guy at the opposite side of the room, and he looks, just like Danny DeVito, yeah, short, body. But 2/3 of the people were gathered around this man, listening to him. And this lady was feeling a bit alone because people were not really paying attention to her anymore, what she was saying, and they were like looking over her shoulders to Mr. DeVito at the other end, wondering, and she was wondering why. And the reason is because that man had a beautiful mind. Mm-hmm. I think that's what drew people who went beyond looks. And I think this is something that we can all share. I think if you want to be successful in life, people like in this world of advertising, these days, from your phones to your clothes, and so on. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong to be well dressed and be presentable. I really worry when I meet somebody who's very disheveled and look like they just came off the street. That's fine. I think you need to dress professionally and dress well. That's fine. But I think what if you can add on your ideas, and be able to share without pushing an agenda. Just share your thoughts and be a good listener at the same time. I think you will automatically bring people to you, and whether that's on a one-on-one conversation or to the millions of people who might just end up being your followers. And I think this is what great thought leaders are doing. That's really their, shall we say, open secret, that they do have beautiful minds. But you need to differentiate between a beautiful mind and one that's driven by an ego. Yeah, there are clear differences. So the ones who are sustainable are the ones who have great, beautiful ideas, and they're not afraid of sharing them with you.
Interesting. Very, very, very true. There's one big, well, probably more than one, but there's one really remarkable thing about you, Ken. And Stu and I have talked about this before. And I'm wondering, you always seem to be so grounded and peaceful and happy. And I know that you do really important work in the world. So how do you keep yourself so grounded and peaceful and happy?
Well, I think the first thing is, which I learned from early days. I used to be, what would you call, a bit panicky, I mean, when you run a business and end of the month is coming, you have to look at your cash flow, you need to pay salaries, you have to pay everybody except yourself, right? And then, I need the overdraft, I need this, max out my credit card, that's all. I mean, nothing ashamed to share. I think through time, I learned to meditate. I used to wake up, and I'm talking about like 40 years ago, 35, 40 years back, when I would wake up in cold sweat, having worries why this customer hasn't paid up, I need to pay my staff, I need to pay the rent, and maybe, overdue on other things, and et cetera, et cetera. And I used to be so worried and even scared, I'll wake up in the middle of the night, have nightmares, and I said to myself, stop it. getting into a panic mode is not going to help. All right. So easier said than done, right? I'm sure a lot of people will say, yeah, right. Yeah, now that you made money, you can talk very big. But I can tell you, I think many of us go through, and I still have some nightmares once in a while. You get this, this funny feeling. Yeah. So the first thing I did to myself was, you see, I have a bedside dresser, table. And what I do is when I wake up with this nightmare, I would actually physically open the top drawer, take, in make-believe, a bit of drama, all my problems, and chuck it in there.
I love that.
That's great.
I love it.
And then go back to sleep. And I did. I slept peacefully because I know I fooled myself to believing that it's in the drawer until the next day I go into panic again, right? Now, the second thing that I learned was how to control one's emotions. Now, I mean, we all have a lot of stress every day. Yeah, every day something goes wrong in our daily lives. Everything from the smallest to the biggest problems. Yeah. So how do you deal with it? It's an avalanche. And sometimes when you turn on the morning breakfast news, it's nothing but bad news. That increases, your stress hormones, your cortisol goes up, a bit of your adrenaline is already up, and that's going to compound it. You may have to rush your kids off to school, maybe you have a little bit of a disagreement with your other half the day before, and now you're like, I'm giving you a bit of a cold shoulder, and vice versa. Whatever, it stacks up, and that makes you unhappy. I think it spoils your day. So I overcome that with meditation. I meditate at least 30 minutes every day, and any one of you can actually do the same. The key is not having your cell phone, turn off all your computers, no distractions, go to a room, could be a bedroom, a room, or even in your toilet, any space that you will not be distracted. And just meditate. There are plenty of courses or books that will teach you how to zero out your meditation, but it has another benefit. I think the other benefit is that you can build your what you call sixth sense influence with people. Now, I'm going into slightly unfamiliar territory. I know many of you do meditate and you do know what chakra points are all about. That could be another subject. But I think learning how to open your aura. I can see Sue's aura right now because I trained my eye. If you want, I can teach all of you how to do it. I can see Erin's. And I can immediately tell your general well-being, your physical well-being, not to freak you out.
This is cool.
I think we need to do a chakra interview.
Yeah.
I think these are very useful skills, you see, because when you meet somebody, and if you train your eye, yeah, and it's very easy to do that. We all have this skill, except that, that's the reason why I said turn off your cell phones and TVs and computers, because we get bombarded with a lot of electromagnetic radiation every day that suppresses that sixth sense. You do have it. I've been to jungles before, and one of the things that they teach you, the guides will always teach you and insist, if you are lost or you're not familiar, you do not call out names, even theirs. And I said, why not? Because you're my guide. If I don't call you, and I'm lost, what do you expect me to do? Cry? Scream? They said, it's still better than calling out my name. I said, okay, but I don't understand why. They said, tigers. What? Tigers know human names? They said, no. You see, when you call somebody's names, the tigers can sense that you are around, not through scent alone, but not from the sound, but from the vibrations of somebody's name. They will know prey is nearby, and it's very dangerous. Believers, they say. I say, oh, okay, you've been a guide for 30 years. I'm not going to challenge that. And there are many stories, as to learning to use your sixth sense to read people, and you do not need them to be in the same room. That's a powerful skill. We can talk about this offline or online. These are skills that you can use on your children. I always read my children all the time. And they say, oh, my daughter is a doctor, and she says, Dad, that's rubbish. She's in London, and she's absolutely rubbish. I think you're going off at the end, Perhaps. But it has helped me in many, many situations. Many situations. So meditation is, has an added benefit. The third thing is, and I know this is totally unscientific, is learning how to read faces, people's faces. You can tell. Give me a picture of Donald Trump. I can tell you, if I've not met him personally, but I can tell you a lot of deep things. Or any person that you care to read. Why is that important to you? Because it will help you size up your customer and your client. So you see, this is what I'm trying to drive at. If you want to be successful in business, you need to have an unfair advantage. Okay, maybe if my cousin works in 3M and he knows the VP for sales and marketing, bingo, there's a good chance I'm in, right? But what if I don't? What if it's just a cold call and they say, well, just a humor, you and that guy's probably whispering to his colleague, well, she looks pretty lady. Let's ask her to come over and give us a bit of a talk, and we'll ask her some hard questions, toy around with him or her, and after that we just say no, right? Now, how do you tell whether these people or this person is genuinely interested in what you're offering? And you can tell. And if you can tell, that can save you a lot of time, money, and grief from going down the dry creek, because it's all part of qualifying your customer. And I think coming back to the technical, scientific part of the conversation, what I'm saying is you will take every tool in your arsenal to qualify your customer. Now, not just asking the standard questions, what else can you deploy? I think that's the thing that has helped me tremendously all these years.
Have you always been able to read people's faces and their chakras?
Good question, Sue. Only about 15 years back, I realized that when I used to go to China very often, like once a month, either on government or on private sector business. And we get along very well with, high-level people who are in business. You go to the offices, it's neat, tidy. And mind you, not everybody in China is like that. It's very rare. And they have good, huge volume business. And after 2 years, and many trips, they never come to agreement to do a joint venture, despite the fact that we have good technology and products, it fits their marketing. Every box checks off, nothing negative. And yet they refuse in a polite way to do a deal. But I'm very patient. I'll drop by, I'll visit them. They even invite me to their homes. We have meals together, equivalent of a barbecue or whatever. I meet their children. etc., etc., and nothing happens until a certain point in time. And it takes me by surprise. And I go up and I meet them, over a meal. And I say, why the hell did it take you such a long time? Nothing has changed. It's not the pricing, it's not the quality, it's nothing. I'm still the same and so are you. So why do you take so much time? And they smile and they say, we've been watching you. What do you mean? Spying on me? Or is it we've been watching you? We have been observing you.
Wow.
I said, like what? I said, well, remember the time when we had a meeting in your hotel room in the Hyatt? Yeah. What's the big deal? Oh, we even look at the way you park your shoes, whether your room is tidy.
Wow.
Yeah, how you serve us some drinks, even from the mini bar. The food you eat when we have meals together. It took them 2 years. And there was a time, another partner said to me, remember this gentleman, Mr. Wang? I said, oh, I can't remember. Everybody is named Wang in China. So just like Mr. Smith, I mean, which one? Is it, that meeting back June last year? I said, I remember him. Very quiet chap. He said, yeah. Is he still with you? I said, oh, no. We employed him. To do what? Read your face. Oh my God! You gotta be kidding me!
Wow.
What's wrong with my face? What are you guys? Lose some boats? What do you mean? Read my face. I said, well, we can tell from your lips, your nose, your ears, your eyes, your everything. The shape of your head. I said, that's rubbish. It's just like my daughter who says, that is rubbish.
Wow.
And I was thinking the same. And how many thousands of years ago, let's say if you are walking somewhere in the woods, yeah, going someplace far away, yeah, can be medieval England, don't forget China, yeah. And you're on this trail, and on the opposite direction comes somebody riding a beautiful horse, very well dressed, looks like a gentleman, and you stop because you're blocking each other's way, and he asks you questions, and you ask him questions, and it's getting late, and he says, shall we maybe make camp together? It's be nice to have some conversation, and I got some game I would be happy to share with you, some wine. And you say, well, why not? But how can you trust that person? Based on what? Nice dressing, because he rides a beautiful white-colored horse. How do you tell? So thousands of years ago, people have learned how to read faces because that's your genetic expression. Just like in Hollywood movies, the bad guys, they look bad. Right? And that's how they cast, that's how they do all the makeup, because they get mug shots from murderers and, psychopaths and sociopaths, There's something about people who are a little bit, have screws loose up there. I'm not saying that you openly judge people, yeah, but at least you have a quick scan and say, okay, I think this person is trustworthy. He has ears that look like Buddhas, So I think a few possible checks that he'll be okay or she will be okay, and then you test that relationship. So these are the sort of skills that I think a lot of people can learn. There are plenty of books pick up, but I'm not saying that you have to. You have your own way, but whatever you do, find the unfair advantage to qualify people.
Wow. That's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, we can have another session. I'll share with you how to read.
That sounds good. We will have to schedule that on chakras and face reading. I could use some training on that.
My other skill is reading handwriting. That's a bit more exact. Yeah. That's what, from Sherlock Holmes to today's criminologists, that's what they do, learning how to read handwriting. I can't tell you who taught me, but it's somebody who works for the US government a long time ago. He used to be a helicopter pilot in Vietnam during those days.
Wow.
An old friend of mine who now hangs out somewhere in Cambodia. You see him often enough out there. He's still doing something covert, I believe. Anyway.
So we won't ask any questions about that. Mum's the word.
I think drain the energy from your audience. These are useful skills. I think you can tell people who will basically what I look for in handwriting would be, will this person complete a job or not? And you can tell a lot in handwriting, besides other traits, in character, personality. And these are all well documented. So any one of us, any one of you can actually read and practice and increase your armory, because you need that to survive in the business world.
Wow. I'm intrigued. Need to get on some of these courses or sign up with you, Ken, to learn all of these new traits.
Maybe we can do for connected communities,
That's
but
right.
They pay you.
2 classes in it. So, Ken, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share about your, experiences that would be helpful for the general public, or anything about challenges that you've overcome that you think might be helpful for the people listening to this interview?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think the message to all friends here is never give up in what you're pursuing. I know people will say, "Oh, you've been doing that for years and you've not succeeded." I think they're just making judgmental statements. Remember, nobody has a right to judge you. Okay? I think what's important, you follow your heart. Follow what is right. It may seem illogical, but I think the greatest, people in success, and you can name so many. I love what Steve Jobs did for Apple. And he overcame very difficult things in his life with his daughter, with his ex-wife. He wasn't an easy person to work with. Certainly by no means, a nice person to work with in the corporate world, but he had a vision. So my question to you is, what is your vision, and how do you see that translated, by others, who can help you make it into reality? And I think if you can spend a bit more time to write down your vision and translate that, share it with people, and convince them in so many ways that I shared with you, I believe you can make your dream come true. Not just for the money, but I think to change the world. I always say excellence with purpose. So serve people with excellence. I think that's important. You are the one who is going to set the benchmark, and only you can do it. So that's my message to all of you.
It's a beautiful message, Ken. Beautiful. Very heartwarming, for sure.
Thank you very much for having me on today, Erin and Sue. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Ken. Before we wrap up, though, where can people find out more about you or reach out to you, connect with you?
Well, I tend to, well, we have several websites. I think if you go to Peace Prize, in one word, .org, I think you'll find a lot of information. As a starter for 10, you can look for me on LinkedIn if you have, things that are more business. Be very happy to share. I think, Erin, you may have my link.
Yes.
There's some way to put a link down there.
Yes.
I'll do my best to answer questions, concerns, and follow-ons from this conversation.
Fabulous.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ken. And I want to take a moment really quickly before we wrap up to acknowledge you and thank you for being you. We are always fascinated by your stories and your wisdom and your insights. And I know that we both always really look forward to our chats when we connect with you halfway across the world or all the way across the world as it is. So thank you for being just a really fascinating, fun, amazing individual.
Thank you very much again. And again, I'd just like to round up here by saying how much I admired and respect the two of you and everybody in your team for doing what you are doing. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of passion behind that, to build that. It's not a dream, it's already happening. So I guess the next thing is expanding it, making it bigger, getting more people to come onto your platform and growing these communities. And just imagine someday, soon, in the very near future, you have, this in Asia, in Europe, and perhaps even in South America. So you will truly be global. And to make that happen it is about getting more thought leaders coming onto your platform and contributing in their own way, their unique messages. And I think with your encouragement and with your preceding successes, I think more and more people will come forward and really do things. As I said earlier on, many people have ideas. The ideas tend to fizzle out because they never realize that dream with action. So I think, in short, is getting off our butts and really.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you.